Today, retired Brigadier Julius Martha Bio, flag bearer of the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party, and his running mate, Dr. Mohamed Julde Jallo, would be nominated by the Sierra Leone People's Party at the Electoral Commission's office in Freetown. And this morning, to discuss the process and what would that mean for the political landscape, we have with us in the studio Abdul Fatoma, who is the founder and chief executive for Campaign for Human Rights and Development International. Abdul, good morning and welcome to Wake Up Sierra Leone.
Good morning, Sammy, and thanks for having me here.
All right, we're also expecting Mohamed Rahman Swaray, who is the Minister of Information but doubles as the communications lead for the SLPP 2023 campaign team. Abdul, first off, let's have an understanding of your assessment as to how the entire elections process have been over time since the announcement of the date for elections and how things have panned out until now that we are not seeing nomination of presidential candidates.
Yeah, first of all, a peaceful, credible election is a prerequisite for Sierra Leone progress. And that is what we want to remind all political supporters, politicians, and also citizens of this country. Election is about channeling a way to development, not a pathway to violence. Power comes with struggle.
Right.
So as you can see, since the announcement of the date, you see a lot of political party and state institutions are tussling for status. And some political parties are currently being denounced not fit as a political party, competent to run as a political party in the June 24, 2023 elections. And that alone brings a lot of struggle within, the political parties, the membership, and that of the state institutions. And people start questioning and looking for a different definition of democracy and looking at fairness of democracy. We as a country, we have enjoyed a lot. What most people are looking forward to is for us to have a credible, free and fair and a peaceful elections. So we will continue to broaden our space as a democratic country. After our civil war, we have conducted elections, we have transferred powers, and we continue to run elections, peacefully. When everything goes through, we happen to organize a peaceful, fair, and credible elections. I mean, it will be a tap on every Sierra Leonean's back because we funded our election largely, and then we conducted ourselves very well, and then we're sending a message to our development partners, countries, that we have come of that age where we were assisted by every bit, every pieces of our actions, either on our governance, either on our development, either on our disaster management, or so on and so forth. So, but we have really moved to a larger scales, trying to become that much dependent, independent country, on other countries that needs to assist us, to run every facet of our affairs.
Have we done well at this point, especially with the country, with the government, trying to fund the elections on its own and see whether or not we cannot always depend on donors to fund our elections? Have we done well?
Well, when you look at done well, it's largely something everybody will have their own answer or definition to it. And we did a registration exercise funded by us as a city, as a country, you know, through taxpayer funds. And people need to know that, you know, the common market women, that as long as you pay GST to, you know, NRA, you also funded this election. So when government says it's a Sierra Leone government funded issues, people down there should know that that is their contribution through taxes. And we did a successful registration exercise, and we are currently on nomination stage. You know, the process is going on, and we'll be going into the campaign mode. You know, processes are going on. We had a voter register with a lot of, now this morning, what you hear from the data management person and what you hear, you know, on the press conference the other day, these are quite two different, you know, things. And what we need is actually a one message, you know, to continue reassuring the people of this country, you know, about how matured we are actually to handle our affairs.
Does that, would that in any way affect the credibility of the process, trust and confidence from the Commission's position?
And the Commission has built a lot of issues of confidence and trust. We, I mean, CHRDI, Interreligious Council, Eminent Women, work with the Commission on by-elections. We conducted, I mean, we were part of them to conduct, you know, 18 by-elections. And all of those by-elections, you know, came out successfully, credible, transparent, you know, and acceptable to the political party, the electorate, and even the losers. You know, that sent a lot of trust and confidence. And the last parliament, you know, was in enthusiastic mood, you know, commending the Electoral Commission, you know, of actually running a credible elections. And some of them, even from the opposition, independent, altered the words that, you know, now you have given us confidence that the June 2023 elections, you know, will be free, fair, and credible. That was the words of, you know, MPs. It was over, you know, live streaming on even AYV. People can go to the archive before you start abusing me, you know. so something like that. So, but whenever there is discrepancies in words, it always creates doubt. And so what the ECSN needs to work on is to have a single message. If the Chief Electoral Commissioner or any of the commissioners are saying words, any of their staff need to be consistent with that word. But when you know, the headquarters is saying this, and the regional offices are saying this, the field officers are saying this, they're creating confusion in our minds, and that will start building doubt.
So let's get to the nomination processes. Today, the leader and deputy leader, who are the presidential and vice presidential candidates of the SLPP, would be nominated at the ECSL's office in Freetown, at Moritown. Now, they went through the process in 2018. They were fortunate to have won the presidency and the vice presidency, and they've ruled for over 5 years. And now they'll be going through that same process. What do you think that would bring to the political landscape? Would the atmosphere change at this point after they would have gone through the nomination process?
The two leading contending political parties, the message they have sent to the people of this country and this country partners, that there is a stability, you know, in our political system. We might be having a lot of hurdles, you know, for political leadership within the political parties. But for the fact that, you know, the same people on the ticket in 2018 are the same people for the ticket on 2023, 5 years down the road. You know, I mean, for a ruling party, you know, it's not that strange. Kroma did that with Sam Sumana, although along the line, you know, patterns and system change. but for the SLPP, former late President Kaba did not. She had that view. He changed, Albajo Dembi, 1996 and 2002. Ekuma Solomon Brewa, run with him for the second term. So, it sent a lot of strong message of, confidence and stability and teamwork, within these two political parties. And it actually helped to send a message to, their supporters and voters, that we're not confusing you with phases. We are the same thing and we trust ourselves. And the battle line is that what happened in 2018, would that repeat itself, or are we going to have a change? And looking at the landscape, the All People's Congress, even though they were having their challenges, for leadership, a lot of contention, among themselves for flag bearership and other things. However, underrated the unpopularity of the ruling party on the street of Freetown. When you look at President Bio and his team, they have been working assiduously, with a lot of grassroots people outside of Freetown. And more especially, areas that APC might perceive that people will not listen to them, but they have been predominantly visiting those areas, constantly engaging those people, sharing their vision, sharing their plan, sharing their challenges, with them. I'm trying to actually build a strong human relationship than ever before in their election, process. And these are things that you may not underrate. Human minds can be very changed.
So you say inroads have been made by the SLPP where they've not been expected over time? I
cannot be conclusive that there is an inroads because the result will actually speak for itself.
Right.
So I don't need to be very premature in my conclusion here. But what I'm saying, that they have been making constant visits to areas that the main opposition think that these people are not welcome in those places, and these places are not their own places. And they have entrenched themselves for the past years, not only months. Constantly you have been seeing, President Bio, Vice President Julde, and other ministers constantly within the Northwest, and also a challenging district in the Eastern region, which is the Corner district. So they have been constant in those areas. You look like places like Tonkolili, places like Falaba, places like Karine. I mean, if you look at those places, just check the records of the president visit. He have ensured that he engaged the people and built a strong human relationship. So you're seeing a lot of, declarations. Indeed, declaration might not be new to the people of this country because we have seen it a lot. But the tsunami of declaration for a political party in the capital city that is unpopular, but at the provincial side of the country is more, grabs to, the people. And that should be a worry sign and a wake-up sign to all political parties that are contending.
Do you see the visits of the SLPP leadership, be the leader or the flag bearer who today becomes the presidential candidate after the nomination process, ministers, to those districts you've talked about, Northwest, the Eastern District of Kono, and all of that? Do you see those visits translating into votes?
Like I will not be conclusive on that, on that because it will be premature. I'm going to wait, to see the results when the results trickle in. Yeah. I mean, this is a country where people will dance for you, people will clap for you, and then when it comes to voting, and you end up seeing nothing. And that happened in 2007 in this country.
Right.
So that's the reason why I would say, I mean, we should wait. I personally will wait to see how that will translate into result. But the reality on the ground is this. I mean, citizens need to accept this political party. If you are indeed a political party, you have a strategy. You have in a ruling government, that really try to establish a stronger human relationship with, the people that you perceive that they are loyal to you, and they have entrenched themselves. We even see paramount chiefs compromising their independent status. Like for Kono, in example, look at the utterance, just listen to the utterance of the paramount chiefs. When he was doing an handing over of those people, that's not a word of a paramount chief. More on electioneering, time. Already, you are already established, your neutrality is done, that you are one-sided. And he said, the council of paramount chief in our district, right? And you can see, don't underrate them, they are well entrenched with their community. People who don't actually interface with community elders, we look at paramount chief as a nobody.
So you're saying wherever they align, then that's where the community goes?
I mean, not the entire community, but the large stake of the community. Okay. And when you also look at the North-Northwest, the human relationship the SLPP has built, I mean, you cannot really imagine that on social media, for the opposition, SLPP is unpopular. But when you get down to their own people, their people are well connected to the very political party they perceive unpopular on social media. And that should be a worry sign,
for the opposition.
For all opposition parties, not only for the APC.
All right, so let's welcome Mohammed Roman Swaray, the Minister of Information, who doubles as communications lead for the SLPP campaign team. Good morning, and thanks for joining us. I know you are all set to accompany the team to the nomination process.
Today is a big day. It's a very red letter day today in Freetown. His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio gets official, and his running mate gets officially nominated today. This sends a very loud and clear message. The team has not been changed. Consistent with the good old saying that you don't change a tried, experienced, and tested pilot mid-air. Right? So that's the message for Sierra Leoneans. This is how far we've come in 5 short years. Just coming from Kono, I'm very buoyed up. I listened to very organic testimonies from the Kono people saying one good term deserves another. I think that is the biggest takeaway. They believe His Excellency has been here in 5 short years. He's been able to correct very historical injustices that the Kono people have suffered since independence. That is where diamonds were first discovered in the 1930s. To this day, Konos have had to go all over this country for further studies. A university is being constructed for Kono right now. You have the construction of an ongoing ultra-modern maternity health center of excellence going on right now. And even the existing hospital is being improved on. You have all kinds of facilities to ensure that underage premature babies who used to die a lot in those hospitals, that's now it's in our past. Many things are going on. There's an international construction, the Kamando Road going to the border with Guinea. They'll open up Mali and international trade to that place. It's ongoing.
Are these moves deliberate by the government to
yes,
at least
it's very, for President Bio, I mean, developing this country, it's a very deliberate move. It's very deliberate. He notes this country has suffered for far too long. We must be that group of men and women who help save her. So yes, it's very deliberate to develop this country. We should, as a country, be very apologetic that after 61 years of independence, we are still going around in circles. His Excellency wants to break that jinx, and Kono has seen the light. It's very clear, it's very palpable for them to see. They understand where to go.
The question of being deliberate was about the Kono district, whether the SLPP is being deliberate developing Kono district as a means of capturing the district.
Well, so two things. The Kono people, speaker after speaker, noted that President Bio is the best in-law they have had, right? You know, several Sierra Leonean leaders have been married to Kono people at one point or the other. You recognize Her Excellency, Madam Fatima Jabi Bio comes from there. And the people of Kono are very proud that their in-law is focused on them. He's taking development there, you know, so for them, they have to show gratitude. Just on the issue of the paramount chiefs. Yeah. You have to give it to the two gentlemen and lady who officially declared for the SLPP during our recent tour. I mean, the paramount chief, Council of Paramount Chiefs, did say that their children have crossed the line. They will not cross with them now because of their position as paramount chiefs. But they wish them well. They consulted them. So they were very technical and tactical too, right? They still understand they were traditional leaders and they should serve every purpose. But even traditional leaders themselves are citizens, they see development. And when they see development, they know it's development. When they see progress, they know it's progress. They know this has been the most progressive government in the history of our country. We came in, we went to Kono from Lunsar, where since they started mining in 1933 in Lunsar, they have never seen the kind of benefit they've seen. Not even during the former administration, which claimed Lunsar as a stronghold. The president presented 38 billion, you know, even writing that for many people is a struggle. 38 billion leones, right, of community development fund. That has never happened. Again, it is because this is not action past intention. You know, we have been very deliberate, very intentional in the things we do. Remember, we had this long drawn-out court battle. You know, we won it. You know, Sierra Leone now has 10% stake in that. But even the community development fund was pegged at 0.01%, which the people never got. In this administration, we have made it 1%, which amounts to that. This is progress. I
want to pull you back.
No normal Sierra Leonean wants a reversal of the hands of the court. We want to continue.
I want to pull you to the nomination process.
Let's go. That's why I'm here.
Let's get to it. The Political Parties Regulation Commission banned street rallies, and but we're seeing supporters of both political parties coming out. So what's the plan? Because evidently there are going to be many supporters of the SLPP out today who would want to see their presidential and vice presidential candidates perhaps before and after the nomination process. So what's the plan in terms of the gatherings?
You should not be worried. As long as it's SLPP, people should be free to go about their normal businesses, right? His Excellency goes for nomination today. On our part, who will be in the delegation will be converging there around 11 thereabouts. He will join us after the nominations. We'll process. We'll go straight. He will drive straight, not process. He will drive straight to Brema Atuga Stadium in the eastern part of Freetown, where he will address throngs and thousands of his supporters. You know, so the media is also welcome to be there. I mean, this is very important. We don't want life impeded. We don't want life disrupted. You know us for our law and other credentials. You know, we will not be in conflict with the law at all. Our supporters who are listening to us, who are viewing us, should understand His Excellency will come to Brema Atuga Stadium after the nominations, where he will be addressing supporters and the media. I mean, that's very clear.
And those of you
who will not be like, you know, our colleagues on the other side.
And those supporters or party members now with the zest, with the enthusiasm, who would want to be part of the razzmatazz of the SLPP at this point, would then be following that crowd to Brema Atuga Mini Stadium in the east. What's the level of security engagement the party has gotten with the Sierra Leone police, for example, to ensure that at the end of the day things are peaceful?
we are so law-abiding that our very diligent Secretary General has taken all the steps you need to take. He has had conversations with the police. He's written letters to them. They have sat together. They have planned everything. So we have been assured security will be watertight, like we used to say growing up in the village, you know.
Let's talk about what would be the message of your presidential candidate after the nomination to the party supporters, sympathizers, members at the Brahma Atuga Mini Stadium.
Well, so I would imagine His Excellency will reiterate the significance of law and order, peace and stability. Sierra Leone is safe in his hands when it comes to law and order, when it comes to peace and stability. He will not threat, you know, you don't want to pass this country over to people who will be the very foundation for the disruption of law and order, who will threaten the peace and stability of this country. I mean, we have had this before now. I mean, you have had some political leaders say if they don't win the elections, they will cause all sorts of problems. I mean, we have seen it these 5 years. But His Excellency has kept very firmly to law and order. He's kept a stable and tranquil Sierra Leone. So that is important, because without peace and stability, the economy won't matter. All of the gains we have made will not matter. I mean, for those of us who are old enough, who went through the 11 years of civil war, I mean, we know that. We don't want another war. So this country is safe in President Bio's hands. Yeah. I mean, he will also talk about continuing commitment to consolidating the gains we have made in free quality education. You know, with all of the components, school feeding, supply of core textbooks and exercise books, subsidized school buses, and now the very recent launch of the student loan scheme. You remember that? Right. Yeah, student loan scheme and scholarships for girls or ladies studying STEM courses in universities. So that will be consolidated, and he'll be confronting the big elephant in the room, which is, you know,
the bread and butter.
The bread and butter issue. He wants to concentrate on agriculture in the second term while consolidating the gains of the current administration. So that is very, very significant. Everywhere you go, from Bumaru to Falaba, people will talk about the tummy, and army works on its stomach. So we want to address that bread and butter issue without having to rely on other countries, because these are the things that make us very susceptible and vulnerable to shocks, right? We want to be able to deliver homegrown solutions. So the president is very committed to that. I mean, he's going to continue to position this country as a very respected member of the International Committee of Nations. Remember, since 1971, when Sierra Leone last left the Security Council, we are now buoyed up. We are positioned. We have pivoted ourselves as the only AU-sponsored candidate for a non-permanent seat on the UN Security Council, right? I think this is very, very important. The president continues to chair the Committee of 10 on the reform of the UN Security Council. He has been recognized as one of 5 global leaders to tackle the crisis in education, which was why at the last conference in New York, Transforming Education Summit, he had the distinguished honor to co-chair with Mr. Guterres, the UN Secretary General. So President Bio has gone places. He's done what no leader has done for this country since 1808, when we were first founded. So no normal person, and I know Sierra Leoneans are smart enough, they are intelligent, they know what is best for them, will change a pilot like that who has been able to cruise even amidst global turbulence and landed safely first time in transit, awaiting takeoff for the next time.
All right, Abdullah, I see you're smiling when the campaign lead, the communications campaign lead of the SRPP is putting out his statements. What is playing in your head?
A lot. President Bio has done a lot in his own part, but the word that, he has done something no leader has done in this country. 5 years is too small.
I agree, which is why we're asking for another 5 years.
It's too small, and for you to say those words. And we have had leaders who brought in train for us, both for transportation and for cargo.
And they took the train away.
Within-
APC took it away in
within
1968.
5 years, Mr. Minister.
The APC took the train away.
Give me my. Don't interrupt my time.
Mr. Fatoma,
I was here smiling, listening to you.
we have a record to defend.
No respect.
We are defending
No,
champions.
yeah, I know.
No, it's
you
by
have
no
a record
means
to defend.
intended to disrespect you.
no.
You're speaking for all of us in civil society as well.
Go ahead.
We have a record to
All right,
defend.
Mr. Minister.
Go ahead.
All right. I mean, these are serious issues. Then also, he talks about law and order. You know, we have lawlessness in this country. We, as a country, we have compromised standard for unprofessionalism. You know, a lot of people, I mean, you cannot be a politician, then you buy a license to be lawless against the state that you want to govern or
Absolutely.
you are governing. You know, so we have a lot of politicians or political supporters who have made a lot of life-threatening statements against the people of this country, you know, or the progress of this country. They are working as a free people. And then innocent people who committed petty crimes, they have been beyond bars for over 7 to 8 years, would have seen a judge or would have seen a lawyer. I mean, this injustice, you know, create discontentment against citizens, I mean, within citizens. So talking about law and order, when addressing this law and order, is not cut across the board. After the election, you know, the 2018 election, we see the emergence of Arata, you know, during by-elections, we see what happens until the election conflict prevention start working with the ECSL in 2020. We start seeing a lot of stability in by-elections because we engage political party leadership directly.
Let's talk about, forgive me, Abdul, I just want us to just zoom in on the political party level. I know it's difficult for the politicians to divorce the government aspect from the party at this point, especially when they're in power. But let me take you to the party's position. Now that the party today nominates its presidential and vice presidential candidates. And the Political Parties Regulation Commission banned street rallies. But evidently, the presidential and vice presidential candidates would be at Brahma Atuga Mini Stadium, the far east, and nomination will be done at the west of the capital. And that crowd would have to move with their candidates, and they would want to show support. How much would that translate into having a peaceful environment that the supporters would want to enjoy at the end of the day with the Sierra police?
Well, I mean, this is the thing. These two political parties think that they own this country, they are above the laws of this country. From their mayoral nominations, the district, you know, processions. Just look at these two political parties, mayoral nomination. They did that. And yesterday, we saw that again from the APC. So I will not be surprised seeing the same thing you're describing, that people may want to accompany the president from the ECSL office at Tower Hill, which is just a neighbor to the president, and walking through the central part of the city, and then going through, you know, to the close east end, you know, of the capital. So definitely you will see that. And even though we have yet to see that, you know, there will be a street procession formally from this political party, but their supporters will definitely, you know, be on the street. And then this will bring, you know, a lot of contention to the agreement. You are saying PPRC banned. They have been distancing themselves that they are not the one who banned. It was a joint agreement within the political party and they themselves that they should, you know, abolish street rallies. So if, I mean, it goes by that and political party have yet to challenge, you know, that defense line from the PPRC, then it would be wrong for us to be saying that PPRC banned. It was a joint agreement within political parties who attended that meeting and the PPRC for them actually collectively to abolish, you know, street rallies. So you continue to see the challenge we have on addressing law and order. And one clear thing most people actually voted for President Bio, love President Bio for, a lot of people who witnessed the NPRC regime, that it was a kind of a strong, disciplined, focused young men that wants to put Sierra Leone on the right path through discipline. You saw when he started visiting ministries, at early hours of work. A lot of citizens who did not vote for him started actually applauding. We are losing a lot in our time management as a country. We have a lot of civil servants who goes to government workplaces, who engage on, watching audios from WhatsApp. They will be attending to you constantly. Their phone audio is on, watching comedy and other things. And some will not arrive on time. So when the president started visiting the ministerial buildings, people were actually excited about that. They look at him as an ex-military man, and he will be able to bring in discipline, within our democratic space. So these were all some of the things. Law and order will be addressed. But to the disappointment of many people, we see even government officials become lawless in this country. Time and time, government, they themselves issue out statements about government officials who disregard traffic orders. The press release, they were all about. That's an evidence of somebody being lawless. If you're not being lawless, I don't need to remind you, I don't need to caution you, for being lawless. So, these are the things that we may want to hear from our politicians, but how are we going to trust them?
Okay.
When the very politicians who comes to you and say, I don't want my people to be lawless, but they are utterances to the very people that they don't want to be lawless, bring instability, insecurity to the state.
All right.
Quickly.
Yeah. So let me, my good friend and brother here does not like me saying President Bill is the first president to have done it.
No. That's not what I said. I said
others have done it before.
Other leaders, like those who get us an independent, that's a great achievement.
No, I
said he has done his own part.
No.
But
So
for you to misquote me directly,
I'm going to put it very strongly.
I don't.
So I'm an aviationist. I come from the airport background. The airport that got replaced recently had been there since the Second World War. It was not even designed for civil aviation. It was a military post for the Brits during the Second World War. No leader has ever thought about a new airport for Sierra Leone. It's in the New Direction Manifesto. This is the first leader in the history of our country that has given us a brand new airport, courtesy of a PPP arrangement. So that one, you cannot contest it. We have spoken about marginalization of women before independence. No leader has been bold, courageous, and audacious like President Bill to introduce the GUI bill. And we recognize the support of civil society and other rights groups. No leader, I really mean no leader, right? They can talk about the concerns of women, but they will not do it. No leader, again, has ever had the honor, the singular honor of being called on the global stage, Sierra Leonean leader, to say, but look, we have a global crisis with education. We want you to be part of the solution because we have seen how you have transformed your country's education and the actions you are taking. No leader. Again, I say the move we have made in terms of freedom of expression, of all of these things, again, reference MCC. No leader. We saw leaders before us, they failed it in style, right? We are unrelentingly passing it since we came to power. No leader, no Sierra Leonean leader ever thought about abolishing the death penalty. We have done. So I could spend all of this day on it.
I see you have a report card there.
Oh, yes. No, I carry it in my head, it's part of me.
All right.
So he spoke about the visitation. Quickly. His Excellency is a very, very law and order person. He's very strong on that. The very fact that he notices it, and notices are issued to the effect means he doesn't want it. Other leaders before now have turned the other way. They've turned a blind eye to it. He has confronted it amongst the few people who have been on the margins. Don't do it. It doesn't sit well with us, right? So we want to tackle it in a more sophisticated way.
Let me run through.
My ministry, just before you go, Samuel, my ministry is in charge of digitalization. We started experimenting, you spoke about the visits. I mean, I totally agree with you. We have issues with work attitude, punctuality and regularity to work. So we want to use digitalization to solve that problem. We had piloted in 24 stations, 24 MDAs, but we cannot effect punitive measures because you do not have it across board. Otherwise, it will be very unfair to those 24 MDAs. So luckily, because we have demonstrated seriousness to digitize, to transform our landscape and deliver government services using digital technologies, we have had a grant from the World Bank, and part of that grant is going to be used to install time attendance management systems across MDAs and in some hospitals, right? So that the president can spend more time, thinking strategic rather than having to climb 8 floors up to my office, for example, all over the place to check out.
All right.
So at a click of his finger, he will now know who has been at work, who has not been
Permit me to run through some messages quickly. Daniel Kamara is saying we did not bring APC to discuss the nomination of Samora Kamara. I think CDI Tunisia, the National Publicity Center, is not a member of the APC, who was here yesterday to discuss the nomination process. I don't know if he's a member of the SLPP. Matalabo is saying law and order still, the country is lawless starting. If not to, I'm not going to go through that. All the developments you're claiming is on paper. Raymond Vidal Kante is saying that the Paupa government is not good for Saloon. Good morning, fellow citizens, sir. Mr. Wise, please ask Mr. Minister the whereabouts of Lima. Lima is not reported missing. Albert Ekundayo Thompson, he says since 2018, you've not addressed the bread and butter. Mr. Minister, please come to Guinea and see in 12 months what the president has done there. Ibrahim Mukhtar is saying. Evangelist Solomon Kenkabu is saying, Samuel, you are denting your professionalism. The writing is clear in your presentation this morning. Well, I have an editorial team that will fire me. Please, Mr. Wise, ask him what they want to tell us again this coming election. Okay, we are very hypocritical in Sierra Leone. We cry about lawlessness, but when the security forces go after lawless individuals, we run to social media and cry. Stephen Yale is saying that. Abdul Fatoma, I agree with you with regards to the lawlessness across the country by the so-called main. Okay, we're not blaming here. Someone said, let us show strength in the ballot box. Imagine 24 boxes were transformed to 124 boxes in Kabbalah. Constituency 110 ballot boxes were destroyed. That's from Alusain Kamara. I think the messages are more. I'm being accused of giving Mohamed Rahman Swaray more time. The time card game is going to come out during these elections, but we're used to it. It's part of our job. So, gentlemen, as we wrap up, Abdul, let me start off with you. What are you expecting at the end of today with the nomination process, the convergence, when people will be convened at the Brahma Atuga Mini Stadium, the messages that would be sent out by the SLPP presidential and vice presidential candidates, and other stalwarts of the party? What are you expecting at the end of the day?
What I'm expecting is the president to give out his achievement, to the people of this country. What are his administration intention, and why does he think that the people of this country need to entrust another 5 years into his hand and his team, to what level? And I mean, this is a government that believes in innovation and data, given figures. And the people of this country may want to learn since 2018 to 2023 how many jobs has been created, how many people has been given job, not just the world. We have created many jobs, but then other countries' leaders will give you figures like we met job, we have 36,000 people employed, and we added 12,000. And so if you give us more other opportunity, we'll create another 20,000 jobs, you know. So young graduates will be hopeful. I mean, currently our society is more hopeless. You know, a lot of people working hopeless. And so what they need from politicians is hope. If you don't have a hopeful message, then definitely you continue to see, you know, a society that is more boiled up, you know, pointing towards violence than development. So this is what we expect from, you know, our political leaders in this country, to actually give the people hope, you know, a real hope, not false hope. And the issue of lawlessness, you know, with the police, we in the human rights side, we always want police to work within the human rights framework of cracking down on lawlessness. But when they go extra mile, and that is where we will position ourselves. A lot of people have been indicted, I mean, facing trials. I mean, they have not seen any single press release condemning those trials or those indictments, right? Because some of those things fit in within the human rights framework. Right. But when it goes overboard, and then that is where we position ourselves. So for people to say hypocritical, it's free to use the words. And also to come to my brother here, Radu, what I said,
quickly, yeah.
It's too early to say President Bio is the only leader in Sierra Leone that has done more good for Sierra Leone than any leader. I mean, let's look at those who fought for us to gain independence. I mean, that's a great achievement as well for some of us who believe in democracy and independence. Right. But I also say he has done his own bit.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll go quickly, Mr. Minister. What is expected of the SLPP today?
Also, our members are expected, like I've said from the onset, to converge at the Brahma Atuga Mini Stadium in the eastern part of Freetown. President Bio cares for the eastern part of Freetown. Remember, the alliance deal was struck in the west, so it's very deliberate that this is happening in the east so that they can feel a part of the action. Our members are enjoined to continue to be law-abiding like they've always been. After the nomination process at ECSL headquarters, His Excellency and his running mate, Dr. Julde Jallo, will drive straight to address them at the Brahma Atuga Mini Stadium. So, I mean, out there, the media, our supporters, sympathizers, and all and sundry should come there and listen to the next president of the Republic.
Thank you very much.
His Excellency President Bio.
Thank you very much, Mohamed Roman Swaray, Minister of Information and Communications, who doubles as the communications lead for the SLPP 2023 campaign team, and Abdul Fatoma, Chief Executive Officer for Chadi. It's been a pleasure having both of you here, gentlemen.